Hello, I'm Angelina, and welcome back to another episode of our interviews. As always, feel free to open up the transcript or the description to better follow along and learn more about our guest speakers. Hello, thank you so much for being here today. How are you? How have you been so far?
Yeah, it's my pleasure to be here. I'm always happy to talk to students.
So, just to start off, could you walk us through your academic journey or just your journey in general, where you studied um what you do now, or sort of like what inspired you to do what you do now?
Okay, so I have a few years, and my uh, academic life, it starts when I'm your age or before, right? You asked one of the questions you sent me was whether or not I was always interested in math. And I can't remember a time when I wasn't interested in math or, when I can't, it's not that it was always my favorite subject. It's just that I was reasonably good at it. I did well in middle school. I did well in high school. And when I went to college, I thought, I've always been sort of directed to take more math. And so I decided to take all kinds of other things, intro to social work, intro to business, and I did intro to lots of things. And when I finally took it was a psychology class, and there was a probability section in it. I realized that I liked math, and I kind of missed it. I liked that kind of thinking. I liked problem solving. I liked being able to work it all out in my head, and there was a solution. And so I declared my major to be mathematics, and actually mathematics and physics. But that was just crazy. I was already a sophomore. It's much better to go in knowing that you want to do math, but I did want to do math. It was the only thing I thought would not bore me, right? So I didn't go into it because I thought I was better at it than everything else. I went into it because it was always interesting and there was so much to learn. There's just always so more that you can learn in mathematics. So that's how I ended up majoring in math. And then I went to graduate school in math. I went to a small school in Kansas, a small liberal arts college in Kansas. And it was small and very small class sizes. Maybe six were in my upper level classes. So it was very, very tiny class, but very good math department. And my advisor said, what are you going to do next year? I was about to graduate. And I said, I don't know. I feel like I don't know anything. I'd like to learn some more math. Maybe I'll go to graduate school. And so the next day, somebody called me from the University of Iowa and said, would you like to come here for graduate school? And so I said, yes. So it wasn't a very focused career path. But I've never regretted it. I never regretted studying mathematics. And one of the reasons is because it's well, it just never bores you, and it gets more and more beautiful the harder it gets. So it was something that I've never regretted. And so I went to the University of Iowa, and I received my PhD there. First, I got a master's degree, and then I went and taught. And then I wanted to learn more, so I went back to school. I'm one of those people who just really would rather be in school than working. And I just always would rather be learning than working. But eventually, there's nothing more you can. They won't keep you after a few years. You have to go work. But but then I taught. I was a professor at Murray State University in Kentucky, and then later at Gettysburg College in Pennsylvania. And then I went and I love teaching. I love the students. You're still learning. Teaching is really a great way to learn a subject. So my favorite classes were always the ones that I didn't take. So those are my favorite ones to teach. So after I taught for a few years, then I went and worked for a journal for the American Mathematical Society. And from there, I ended up the Association for Women in Mathematics needed an executive director, and so I said, I'll do it. And so here I am. I'll do it. So that's my mathematical journey. But um,
Were there any things you were surprised about, like before going into like majoring in math and physics, or any things that you expected and they ended up being true?
oh, that's a good question. Mm, I don't go in. I didn't go into it with very many expectations because my parents don't have high degrees. They have associate's degrees. I grew up on a farm in Iowa, and so I didn't really know what to expect. I just went forward with, am I learning something new? And I was always learning something new. So I think graduate school was a big shock for me because in graduate school everybody is, excellent at mathematics. And when you go to a small school in the middle of Kansas, not everyone is good at mathematics. There were only a few of us who were really interested. And when you go to graduate school, it's a community of people who are also interested in mathematics. So that was it was both good, but it was also surprising, right, to me that there were so many people who loved mathematics. So that was a surprise.
And I think you mentioned that like some of your favorite classes to teach are the ones you never took. Could you like explain a little bit more about that and like what classes do you like to teach? And like what about that
Well,
makes them so fun?
well, I still love probability theory, and so I probably took most of the classes that I ended up teaching, but I wasn't a specialist. And so, for example, one of my favorite classes to teach was operations research, and and that's because there there's a lot of probability theory in it, and yet it's really highly applicable. And so there were lots of problems that were relevant and seemed, and I like being organized. So I liked the organizational structure. So operations research was one that I really enjoyed teaching. I really enjoyed probability theory, but this was hard for me because probability theory can be quite tricky. And so I did all the problems in the book before I went into class because sometimes you see the answer and sometimes you don't. And so I wanted to make sure I saw all the answers before so that I at least looked like I knew what I was doing. So sometimes I was just a few classes ahead of the students, but I mean, what you learn in graduate school is how to learn and how to learn quickly. And so that's why I enjoyed teaching that because I felt like after I'd done that I had a much firmer grasp on the subject. So so I didn't really enjoy that, and I always enjoyed teaching abstract algebra. That might not be something. I don't know what's the highest math course you've taken.
Not abstract algebra. I think I'm only up to
Yeah,
calculus 3.
yeah. So I loved calculus. I loved teaching Calc 3. Actually, Calc 3 was one of my favorites because it's really quite remarkable how it all fits together in the end. And so I love teaching calculus. I love teaching Calc 2 especially. And when I took calculus I was maybe a sophomore in college by then. When I took calculus, um, I was just struck by how powerful it is, right? It can solve a lot of really powerful problems in real life problems. And so I was really struck by that when I took calculus. I thought it was the coolest thing. And then I took abstract algebra and I realized that there's something beyond this, that there's sort of a beauty that it takes a long time to get to see it because mathematics is old and you have to learn a lot. So it took a long time for me to see that beauty. But once I did, I was like, oh, that's what everybody was saying about how math is beautiful. I mean, it's useful, but it's also just, it has the power to sort of, um, I don't know, it's moving in the way that a concert can be moving. So I really, I enjoyed, I enjoyed the abstract mathematics quite a lot.
I think you also mentioned that if you could learn forever, you would. I just wanted to ask, like, what about learning in school is like so enjoyable for you?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I think it's that I was never motivated by I got decent grades, but I was never motivated by that. I was never motivated by being the best in the class. I was always wanted to just know more than I did yesterday. And so it's just maybe it's a personality trait, maybe it's just a compulsion that I felt like I needed to review. I always felt like I was worse than everybody in class, which is it's not a useful way to think about it. But I always felt like I had to work harder to be better. But it wasn't true for one. Yeah, I was still pretty good. But I just wanted to know things so that I would know them thoroughly and be able to there's something about knowing one subject really, really well that makes you proud of yourself, right? And I can't tell you why. It's just something that I feel good about myself when I feel like I've done the best I can and learned as much as I can. But there's always more, right? There's always more you can do.
And then what about teaching to you is like so enjoyable and like appealing as well?
Oh, my favorite part of teaching was the sort of aha moments. If a student was not, they weren't comprehending it, they weren't getting it, and then suddenly, you said the right thing by accident. Usually, I mean, it's usually it was by accident, and then suddenly they worked very hard at it, and then they got it. So it wasn't always the best students that were fun. It was sometimes the students who were struggling, because if they worked hard enough, eventually they got it. And so I like the students. They're just fun, right? Because learning is fun, and it's fun for me to learn. So it's also fun for me to share that with students so that they can learn. So I really enjoyed that.
And then being a part of AWM, do you have like a favorite moment or like something you particularly enjoyed?
Oh my. So I started this job as the Association for Women in Mathematics has been around for 50 years. So we're an old organization. And I started in 2020, in March of 2020. Where were you in March of 2020?
COVID, like freshman year, I think.
Yeah, so you suddenly had to learn everything from home. I suddenly had to do everything, a new job. I didn't know how it was supposed to go. And I had to learn everything. And my volunteers were all, a lot of AWM is made up of professional mathematicians who are teaching. And they're also, now suddenly they are also have children at home they have to homeschool. And so they were very busy. And so I felt like I couldn't ask them to do more. So I just had to learn it by myself. I had to learn it. So I accomplished that. That was very hard. So everything now seems very easy. So my favorite thing is we have a research symposium. So that's a little conference. And so my favorite thing to do is organize that conference. It's the best event because we do it, several of us do it together, but but we work on it very hard, and we make sure everything is, everything is in place for it. And then when it happens, it's, maybe 300 women all in the same room doing mathematics. And it's really exciting. Like, it's just a welcoming environment. It's warm, and everybody feels like they belong in this space. And that's been my favorite thing. That thing has been my favorite thing. I'm also very proud of our series of lectures. We've only had two so far, but I'm very proud of this careers. I don't know if you know about this employment opportunities series. It's a webinar about job opportunities using mathematics. So I'm very proud of that because I feel like it meets a need. A lot of students attend, a lot of students learn. We did one with actuaries. They're posted on our YouTube page. We did one with actuaries, and we did one with data science, careers with data science. And we have one coming up that's careers in the intelligence industry. So NSA and the National Security Agency hires a lot of mathematicians to do cryptography, essentially. So I'm looking forward to that one. It'll be interesting to see what they do. So those are the two things that I'm most proud of. But I like, my day is filled with talking to women in mathematics. So this is just fun for me. It's social. I work very hard, but it's also social, and I like that. I have a community.
Sort of on the same note about like talking to women in mathematics, do you have any specific pieces of advice for anybody interested in mathematics, but like particularly women who like want to pursue mathematics in like the future or in the near future or right now?
Yeah, I- so so I think that this is a great time to study mathematics because we have almost everything in our daily lives is touched by mathematics. So if you understand mathematics, then you can do lots of different things. So if you want to be in business, if you want to teach, if you want to do work in politics, all of that is touched by mathematics. And some of it's data science is very important right now, but that could be different by the time, in 10 years that could be different. But what mathematics does is it gives you a firm grounding so that you know that you can learn that something new. So if the world changes around you, you're ready for it because you know how to learn. And that's really, mathematics is really good at that. It gives you these thinking skills that I don't want to say other disciplines don't, because that's not true. Lots of disciplines can give you critical thinking skills, but I feel like mathematicians are a little bit more flexible in what they can do because partly because it takes so long to get anywhere. You have to learn a lot of things. So in particular for young people, I would tell you not to make the mistakes I did. But of course, I would tell you, don't wait till you're a sophomore to decide you want to do math. You know, do it now. Just learn as much as you can, and learn it as well as you can, and don't compare yourself to other people. Just compare yourself to like how much you knew yesterday, instead of worrying about whether you know more than the person next to you. Do you know more than yesterday? And are you having fun? And if it's an interesting problem, math is like, sometimes a lot of the math that I did as a professional mathematician was just puzzles. It's just playing, working out puzzles and moving things along. My subject area is combinatorics. And so that's the mathematics, it's very experiential. So you just do a lot of examples and you try to find a pattern. That's how you did. So it was a lot of like just playing games. And so be curious, be inquisitive, and learn as much as you can. That's the advice I would give anybody. but don't psych yourself out. So when I was young, I always, there were things, there were concepts that were hard for me. They were so hard. I thought I would never ever learn these things. And then, I did manage to learn them. And I look back and I think that, that was really not the hardest thing I ever learned. It was easy. I just somehow made it hard. So you can psych yourself out and you can make things hard when they aren't. So if you're having trouble with something, just walk away from it for a while and come back. It gets easier. Everything, if if it were hard, one of my professors used to say, if it were hard, we couldn't do it. So it's it's not hard because somebody did it, and so it's just a little bit harder work, maybe.
Okay, thank you so much. It was amazing talking to you.
Okay, I enjoyed it very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.